Today's video, I want to show you the exact funnel that's been making a lot of project founders in Web3 millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's a very simple funnel, but I think that despite the simplicity, a lot of project founders still are missing a lot of the pieces in this funnel. So I do want to break down the funnel for you. This is not going to be, any, conversion. There's not going to be very, very in-depth, things that we break down in the funnel, but it is a kind of like a quick overview of what a funnel in Web3 should look like, a little bit more in detailed. Kind of from what we've noticed working with 65 projects, at our agency, webflow.io. So without further ado, I do want to get straight into it. So first of all, obviously we have the front end. So this is where you drive actually a lot of impressions to your product. So there's a couple of different ways that we found that, people can do this, right? So obviously you have content / your X account. So this is your project's account. Then you have the founder's account. So this kind of follows a little bit of the founder's funnel. Where you want to be very active on your founder's account, talking about kind of what you guys are doing, what the project is, what the updates of the projects are, overall kind of what you guys have been up to. Then we have obviously probably KOLs, which is probably one of my favorite strategies that, we can implement into any project, just because you're able to tap into an already existing trusted audience that's pretty warm, that can just kind of get, you can bring your product in front of them and they'll be more likely to convert than a lot of, the other ways in Web3. Then we have collabs and partnerships. So this is where you pretty much tap into other communities and hoping to convert some of those into yours. This can be through a deeper partnership, which is, whether it's IP partnership, whether it's, you're doing a social fly campaign with them, whether you're doing, a airdrop campaign with them, whatever it may be, or you have, as simple as where you have collaborations where you give them whitelist spots to your upcoming mint. These are ways where you can tap into a different audience and bring in a lot of impressions, right? Like imagine you're able to tap into 200 audiences, in the gaming specific niche, then you're able to tap to a lot of obviously the gaming audience in Web3, since it's a very small ecosystem. So we have that. And then lastly, but not least, we have Spaces. Spaces is one that's been popping up a lot lately. I truly think it's a powerful tool because you're able to go into other spaces, go into other audiences and kind of showcase your product, talk about what your team is building, and just bring, shed light on kind of what, your product, your team, your project overall. And I think it's just a good strategy to kind of slowly start tapping into a new audience. But I don't think spaces are very powerful and, kind of the front end, the top of the funnel where you're bringing in impressions as much as they are later down the line. So now that we kind of got that out of the way, I want to go into, how do you nurture these impressions and traction and turn them into diehard fans? So there's a couple ways you can do this, right? So you have Discord and Spaces. Discord is where you're basically going to have a more in-depth connection with some of the, your community members. You're going to have more one-on-ones opportunities. You're going to have opportunities to different spaces. You're going to have a lot of different opportunities to kind of have your team discuss with the community on a more consistent basis, outside of, where you have them on Twitter, where you're just talking to them. And it's not a two-way street. It's a one-way conversation that you're having with them on Twitter. On Discord, you can kind of have, both like two-way conversation. Then, as I mentioned earlier, I think spaces are a very powerful tool. I don't think they're so powerful to bring in traction, but I think where they really come in handy is where you nurture these impressions and distractions that you're able to bring into your project and really turn them into diehard fans, because now you're able to get in front of an audience, get in front of your already existing community and impressions that have already heard about your product, and really convert them by telling them the vision, by talking to them and putting a voice behind the PFP, right? A lot of project founders miss this. They don't talk to their community. They don't showcase, that they're a real person. So it's a lot harder to kind of interact with a person over text and over announcements and, kind of like one-way street, like I was saying earlier. But it's a lot easier to kind of, get accustomed or trust somebody more if you're able to listen to what they're saying and explain to you their vision, and as a user, you can kind of understand their vision and, their passion for the product that they're building. So I want to give you a little bit of a tip here when you're starting up your Discord, right? When you're opening up your Discord, the best way to do this is to create a sense of exclusivity by keeping the Discord closed and only allowing top tier communities and influential people in, which will then create a sense of FOMO, and everyone outside the Discord will then try to rush in. So what will happen here, right? So how you want to do it is you want to have different Discord or codes, Discord codes that you're giving out to your community, whether that's on Twitter, from the founder's account, from the team accounts, And the whole community, everybody that's outside of Discord looking in is going to be like, oh, I want to get into that Discord because it's very exclusive. And if I get into that Discord earlier, I might have access to potentially a whitelist earlier on. I might have access to different benefits that, some of the outside people might not be getting into. So what this causes is a sense of FOMO in the community, where they're all going to be watching your social media accounts, whether that's the personal, the founders funnel, the team accounts, or the actual project account. And then obviously, like, as they're keeping an eye on it, you can then continue to tweet out your updates, your tweets, and then they will obviously get more interactions because they'll be, the community will be waiting to get a code. So that's a very strong way to really kick off your Discord. And, in the nurturing and impressions, I want to actually bring back a little bit of a bonus here. So one thing that we did with one of our projects recently is that instead of just, taking the normal route where we just did spaces, we did Discord, we actually collected their emails, right? So what happened here is that now the community has the opportunity to get more involved with your project, right? So what we did here was, hey, if you sign up, you're going to get early access to our beta. So anybody that would go in the website would then see that, hey, I could just put in my email, get early access to the beta, and I can also get access to a mini kit, which then I can use in-game, which then obviously gives them a bonus, helps build that trust with the community. You're giving them something up front. So now they're more interested and more involved with your project. So you can then, continue to push out your tweets in front of them, and they're going to be more likely to actually interact with them. So now that we have that set up, now how do we convert them, right? This is the most important part of this funnel here, right? It's like the conversion, right? Anybody can, come in here, do a couple of things, post some content, do the founders funnel, implement some KOLs, all these things. But how do you actually convert these people that are joining your Discord, joining your spaces, listening into what you're doing? And there's a couple of different ways, right? So the way that you want to do this, the best way that we've noticed at least, is that you want to give them access to the product that you're building, right? So how do you do this? You either provide a product beta test. So this is if you're building maybe like some sort of platform, right? So like we had Easy, one of the projects that came out recently, they have a platform. So what they did was they would give product beta access to some of their community members. Now, if you're a game, this one's very interesting for you because a lot of projects are doing this, and a lot of the community is already accustomed to Play to Airdrop campaigns. But I think Play to Airdrop campaigns are very powerful, not only because you're able to get users into your platform, but you're able to turn all these impressions that you've been getting, all these people that are jumping into your Discord, and actually provide them with your product. So what happens here? These people are then able to utilize your product, get more accustomed and more, known with your product. And now they're able to really attach like, hey, these guys have a real product. These guys have been building it for a long time. Not only did I play the game, but I actually made some money out of it because I was able to participate in the Play to Airdrop campaign. And now in the future, once the game is out, now you're able to retarget them, right? Now you're able to retarget them. Now they're more interested because they've already played your game. They made some money off of it. So why not play again? So those are kind of the two ways where you're able to provide people with access to your product. But now if you don't have a product that's ready yet, one of the most powerful things is where you do AMAs inside of the Discord. So why is this very important, right? So the reason why this is important is because you're able to talk to your community on a one-on-one basis in a Discord. So what's the difference between a space and a Discord AMA? So the most powerful thing is that spaces are very public. So anybody can kind of jump in, listen into the space. It's not as interactive where I can't, as a listener, jump in and ask any questions. It's a lot harder to do that when you're in a space over a Discord AMA. So in a Discord AMA, you're able to just jump in chat, drop in a question, tag the team. Then they're able to answer your question. So the power about having the AMA is that you can answer these questions and have the community really get interested in what you're building and, kind of like really, really back you. So I think these are the main three ways that you can really like implement and start, converting some of these people into your product, right? So like, yeah, okay, perfect. Now you have, now that you've done the front end, now you've gotten some traction. Then you nurture them, you brought them down to the Discord, let's say maybe 5 to 10% of the people that actually came to your Twitter were moved down to the Discord. And now you're able to nurture them through spaces. So now they're able to really interact with you. And you're able to build trust with them by talking to them. And now you're giving them access to your product. You're giving them access to your player airdrop. You're doing spaces with them or AMAs with them inside of Discord where you're able to answer their questions directly. Now what happens, right? Now there's one or two things that happen. So they either don't like your product and they move on because this is a very fast moving space, or they love your product and your vision. So usually, everybody will go through this step. If I want to join a community, right, I will go through all the steps. I will come across a project. They seem interested on Twitter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and join the Discord. I'm going to listen into some of the spaces that the team is doing so that I can understand the vision behind the product. Then I will either participate in the product beta. I will play on their player airdrop. I will jump in AMAs inside of their Discord. And I don't really like what the product or the team is building, so I just move on to the next project. So what happens is they do love your product and your vision. Now you're able to make your ask, right? So obviously I put money signs here because we all love money. But at the end of the day, right, like this may mean, you have either your product launch, you have your mint coming up, or you have your TGE. So now after people kind of go through this whole funnel, now they're able to really understand what your product is, really like understand and get the vision behind why you're building this project, and then make their own decisions, right? Because I think what a lot of projects and marketing teams do incorrectly is that they're trying to force feed people information so that they can then go ahead and be a customer. But the new thing about Web3 is that the right way to do marketing in Web3 is that where you feed people the right information and have them make their own decisions, right? They're not forced. They're not, force fed into buying into your product, into buying into your vision. You're laying all the cards on the table and letting them make their own decision. So this is the very powerful thing about this funnel that I think a lot of projects miss out on. So after you make your ask, this is where you have your TGE, your everything. And then the most important part, right, is that going back to the point that we mentioned earlier is where you're able to collect their emails by providing them some sort of value. Now in the future, after you've launched your product, right, you're able to retarget them, or you're able to bump them up for, important updates or anything like that. And I think this is a crucial step that a lot of projects miss. They think like, hey, I'm going to launch my token, I'm going to launch my mint, and then hopefully one day some of these holders are able to then come back and play my game. Okay, so let's say you have a 2,000 NFT collection. So now you're hoping 2,000 people may potentially come and play your game. But if you're able to collect emails earlier on when you have some traction, right? For example, like for these guys, we were able to post this up, and, in a couple of days we had 30, 40, 50,000 emails that signed up for, to get early access to the beta. So now we can go and then retarget 30,000 people, 40,000 people, and like, hey, our game is now live. Here's access, or here's your mini kit that you claimed a couple months ago. So now you're able to retarget them, and now you're able to get in a pool of 30, 40, 50,000 people instead of hoping 2,000 NFT holders might potentially play your game or use your product. So I think this is a very powerful tool and a very powerful funnel that a lot of project founders should kind of start following. And this is a funnel that we follow for all of our clients. Obviously, they're a little bit more detailed when we do implement it for some of our clients, but this is a high overview. So if you're a project founder, hopefully this was some sort of value to you. And I'm hoping that you're able to implement this into your project and see some sort of return kind of on your time investment here that you kind of spent with me. But other than that, I'll leave you guys to it. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. My DMs are pretty much always open, and I'm happy to jump on any calls with anybody that might have some questions about this funnel. Other than that, I'll leave you guys to it, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.